Hey guys, this is Mark from Love at Your Table. So, this season of our life has been unexpected. My wife and I actually are in different places right now. I just got back to Seattle, and she's still back in the Philippines. And right now, it's on. And by the way, this isn't anything bad, but after much prayer, we've decided that we're going to start the process of going back to the US, and part of that process is actually me going back ahead of her. And so this is actually, I wouldn't think it's like a very harsh separation, but more or less a pivotal moment. I'd say a transformative time. I thought coming back sooner actually would, everything would be accelerated, that everything would fall into place faster. But I'll be honest, the job search and really getting acclimated back here in Seattle, especially with just how the job market has, it's been tougher than I imagined. And I know I'm not the only one that's feeling like that. Maybe for you, you've lost a job. Maybe you've been searching for months. It's so easy in times like this to get swept up into negativity, scrolling through headlines, reading the stats, and just seeing the story after story of how bad things are. And before you know it, the hopelessness kind of just starts to sink in. It just starts to feel like it's a part of just the everyday grind. Even for me, between, Discord calls with my wife and sending out application after application, it has been really just a slow and honestly frustrating grind. But I was reminded of a verse in James chapter 1 verse 2, and you guys have probably read this before. And it says, "Consider it pure joy when you face trials." At first, I thought, no way, there's no joy here. No, not in this situation. But the more I sat with it, the more I realized something. Happiness isn't guaranteed in life, especially when things are falling apart or even slow. But joy, on the other hand, it's a choice, and it's still one of the very few things you can control. Even in the middle of challenges, we can still choose to see God's hand at work. And James tells us why. Because these trials have a bigger purpose, they're shaping us. They're perfecting our faith. And I think everyone wants to have a perfected faith. But the process can be a little gritty. For me, it's meant seeing the gifts God has given in the waiting, especially in this season of my life. It's given me time to write, create, really reflect. So maybe this delay isn't wasted time. Maybe it's preparation for the next season. If you're in a slow, uncertain chapter right now, I just want to encourage you. Joy is still on the table. Not because the situation is easy, but because God is still at work, and He's writing a bigger story than the one we see today. So thanks, guys. Mahalo.